Ambassador Lion Chen stood at the podium of the Galactic Council, her hands steady on the obsidian lectern, her voice calm as still water. Before her, in a vast amphitheater that could hold 10,000 delegates, representatives from 700 sentient species watched her with expressions ranging from bored indifference to barely concealed contempt. She had requested 3 minutes. This is a waste of star cycles, hissed Supreme Commander Vrax of the Vornak Empire, his 4 arms crossed over a barrel chest armored in living chitin. The translation module embedded in Lion's ear rendered his guttural speech into perfect Mandarin-inflected English. The humans have no FTL, no energy shields, no psychic casts. They cannot even cure their own cellular decay. They are primitive. Laughter rippled through the chamber, the chittering of the Krill collective, the wet clicking of the Xylanthic hegemony, the deep bass rumble of the hive of 10,000 stings. Lion had heard it all before. 18 months of diplomatic overtures, 18 months of being treated like a pet who had learned to speak. She waited. The laughter died. Vrax leaned forward, his 3 yellow eyes narrowing. You have your 3 minutes, mammal. Entertain us. Lion touched a control on her wrist. Behind her, a hologram bloomed, Earth, blue and green and impossibly fragile. Then, superimposed over it, a schematic. We discovered quantum resonance in 2047, she said. For those unfamiliar, it is the principle that any object with mass vibrates at a specific frequency. Match that frequency with sufficient amplitude and you can dissociate the object's atomic bonds. The Krill ambassador stopped chittering. Nuclear weapons already do that, primitive. No, Lion said softly. Nuclear weapons blast, resonance undoes. There is no explosion, no radiation, no debris. The object simply stops existing as matter and becomes quantum noise. Vrax snorted, bluff, you cannot even leave your solar system. How would you generate such amplitude? Lion smiled. It was not a warm smile. We don't need to leave, she said. We only need you to come to us. The chamber fell silent for exactly 2 seconds. Then Vrax threw back his head and laughed, a wet, coughing sound that set off another wave of mockery. The prey threatens the hunter, he bellowed. Enough of this farce. I move to strip humanity of observer status. They are not a civilization, they are a food source. The vote was rapid, overwhelming. Lion watched as delegate after delegate raised their appendages in favor. Only 3 species abstained, the crustacean-like Glorn, the gaseous Myral, and the ancient, silent watchers who never voted at all. Ambassador Chen, the council speaker, intoned, you are dismissed. Your species will be classified as non-sentient resource. The Vornak Empire has claimed your solar system. You have 40 standard cycles to evacuate if you can. Lion gathered her notes. She walked down the podium steps, her footsteps echoing in the suddenly quiet chamber. At the door, she paused. Supreme Commander Vrax, she said without turning around. We learned something else in our primitive little corner of the galaxy. We learned that the smallest spark can start the largest fire. She left. Behind her, Vrax was already giving orders. 12,000 warships, a full expeditionary fleet. The humans would be a footnote, a cautionary tale for species that reached too high with too little. The fleet jumped to FTL at 800 standard. On Earth, Admiral Marcus Reyes watched the long-range detection array light up like a Christmas tree in hell. 12,000 contacts, ETA, 3 hours. His comms officer, a young lieutenant with acne and shaking hands, turned to him. Sir, should we tell the public? Reyes leaned back in his chair. He was 62 years old, with a jaw like granite and eyes that had seen 3 wars. He thought of the tank beneath the Nevada desert. He thought of Dr. Elena Vasquez, who had volunteered her mind, her consciousness, her very soul, to become the trigger. He thought of her 8-year-old daughter, waiting at a military base in Nebraska, not knowing that tonight she would either see her mother again, or become an orphan in a world that no longer existed. No, Reyes said, no need to panic. They fell for it. He tapped a single key on his console, a secure line to the Nevada facility. Elena, he said softly, it's time. From the speaker came a woman's voice, thin but steady. I can feel them already, Admiral. So many minds, so many fears. Can you do it? A pause, then, for my daughter, I can do anything. The first Vornak ships entered the Uit cloud. The resonance array began to hum. And in the Galactic Council chamber, 3 light-years away, the live feed of humanity's destruction flickered once and went black. Then the screaming started. 3 hours felt like 3 lifetimes. On the surface, Earth cooked in its own terror. New York, Shanghai, Lagos, London, every city vomited panicked crowds onto highways that had become parking lots. Parents clutched children, lovers held each other. Priests of 1,000 faiths opened their doors and began chanting prayers that no one truly believed anymore. But beneath the surface, 3,000 feet beneath the Nevada desert, inside a bunker carved from an extinct volcano, the atmosphere was eerily calm. Dr. Elena Vasquez floated in a tank of liquid fluorocarbon, her body suspended at neutral buoyancy, her skin covered in 1,000 sensor patches. Tubes ran from her arms, her neck, her temples. Electrodes glittered along her scalp like a crown of chrome thorns. She had been here for 5 years. 5 years, she thought, as the resonance frequencies of 12,000 Vornak warships whispered against her augmented cerebrum. 5 years since I kissed my daughter goodbye and told her it was just a business trip. The lie still tasted like ash. Sensor contact, the bunker's AI said, its voice a gentle contralto. Vornak fleet has passed the orbit of Neptune, lead elements entering the asteroid belt. Estimated time to Earth orbit, 2 hours, 41 minutes. Elena opened her eyes, or rather, the sensors that served as her eyes. She saw the solar system as a web of quantum vibrations. The Sun, a bass note of fusion thunder. Jupiter, a resonant growl. Mars, a high, thin whistle. And the Vornak ships, 12,000 needles of dissonant frequency, cutting through the harmony like shards of broken glass. She had been trained for this, selected for this, volunteered for this, when the doctors explained that the resonance array needed a human consciousness as its tuning fork, a mind that could feel the universe's song and pluck the wrong strings on command. Elena, Admiral Reyes's voice crackled through the tank's speakers. Talk to me. I can feel them, Admiral, they're afraid. Good. No, she frowned or tried to, her facial muscles had atrophied. Not good, they're afraid of us, they don't understand what's happening. They're sending scouting parties ahead, smaller ships, faster. Can you take them without tipping off the main fleet? Elena reached out with her mind, reached across 2 billion miles of empty space, through the quantum resonance field that humanity had spent 50 years perfecting, and touched the lead Vornak scout. It was a sleek thing, maybe 200 meters long. Inside, a crew of 30 Vornak warriors, their chitin-armored bodies trembling with anticipation. They had never lost a war. They had never even faced a worthy enemy. Poor things, Elena thought, you have no idea what's waiting for you. She plucked the scout's resonant frequency, a complex cord of exotic matter and dark energy shielding, and she pulled. The effect was instantaneous. No explosion, no debris. The scout simply unraveled, its atoms losing cohesion, its molecules dissolving into quantum foam. One moment it was there, a predator closing on its prey. The next, it was a cloud of harmless neutrinos, scattering across the solar wind. The remaining 11 scouts stopped dead. Elena felt their terror spike. Their comms lit up with panicked chatter. Ghost ship, sensor failure, attack from nowhere. They know, she whispered. They're pulling back to the main fleet. Let them, Reyes said. We want them together. Outside the bunker in the cold Nevada night, the resonance array's 7 primary dishes began to turn. Each dish was the size of a city block. Each one had been built in secret, funded by 100 governments who had agreed on only one thing: humanity would never be prey again. The dishes locked onto the Vornak fleet's position. Elena felt the resonance field build, a hum that vibrated through the bunker's reinforced walls, through the rock above, through the very crust of the planet. Amplitude at 10%, the AI reported. 2030. Elena's body began to shake. The resonance field fed through her, used her as a conduit, and every cell in her body sang with the strain. 50%, Elena, your vitals are. I know what my vitals are, she snapped. Keep going. 70%, 80. The Vornak fleet realized the trap too late. Their commanders screamed orders to scatter, to jump to FTL, to do anything, but the resonance field had already locked onto their quantum signatures. They could not outrun their own atoms. 90%. Alina screamed, not in fear, in agony. 12,000 minds, 12,000 terrified consciousnesses, pressed against her own like drowning victims clutching a lifeline. Elena, Reyes shouted, "We can abort, we can." No. She thought of her daughter, Sarah, 8 years old. Last birthday she had sent a video message, her face smeared with chocolate cake, saying, "Mommy, when are you coming home? I drew you a picture." The picture was still taped to the side of Alina's tank. A stick figure with long hair, holding hands with a smaller stick figure under a yellow sun. 100%, Alina thought, for Sarah. 100%, the AI said. Elena pulled. 12,000 Vornak warships, battleships, carriers, destroyers, support vessels, 12,000 points of light in the darkness of space, vanished. Not destroyed, not exploded. They stopped existing, their atoms scattered across a dimension that had no name, their crews' consciousnesses ripped from their bodies and scattered like ash in a hurricane. The resonance field collapsed. Alina gasped, her body going limp. The tank's monitors flatlined for 3 terrifying seconds, then rebounded. She was alive, barely. Status, Reyes' voice was hoarse. The AI paused, Vornak fleet, 0 contacts, Terran system secure. A cheer went up in the bunker. Men and women who had worked in secret for decades, who had sacrificed families and careers and sanity, wept and embraced and fell to their knees. But Alina did not cheer. Through the fatting resonance she felt something else. A presence, ancient, hungry, and very, very angry. A signal pushed through the quantum foam itself, resolving into words she could understand. "You have drawn attention, run." The tank's lights flickered, and 3,000 miles away, on the dark side of the moon, a seam in reality began to tear. Galactic Standard Time plus 47 minutes since the Vornak fleet's disappearance. The council chamber had become a morgue of shattered dignity. Ambassador Vrax's severed arm still twitched on the floor, having been torn from his body by his own security detail when he tried to strangle the Xylanthic delegate. The Krill Collective had evacuated so quickly they left behind a molted exoskeleton, which now lay in a pathetic heap beside the podium. And the hive of 10,000 stings had collectively fainted, 10,000 insectoid bodies stacked like cordwood in the ambassador's gallery. Only the Watchers remained, ancient beings of living crystal. They had observed the Galactic Council for 3 million years without speaking a single word. Today they spoke. "The humans have activated a quantum resonance cascade," said the eldest Watcher, its voice the sound of glaciers grinding. "This technology was forbidden by the first compact. It does not destroy, it uncreates, and it requires a living consciousness to direct it." The remaining delegates stared in horror. "One human," whispered the Glorn ambassador, his crustacean eye stalks trembling. "One single human did this." "One human mother," the Watcher corrected, "who volunteered to become a weapon, who sacrificed her existence to protect her child. That is the truth you missed when you looked at their primitive ships and shorter lifespans. You saw weakness, you should have seen desperation." The chamber fell silent. On the main view screen, restored now, feeding from a deep space probe that had survived the resonance pulse, the solar system looked unchanged, peaceful even, but the probe's sensors told a different story. 12,000 Vornak ships gone. Not debris, not energy signatures, not even atomic residue. They had been erased from the universe's memory, as if they had never existed at all. "What do we do?" asked the Xylanthic delegate, her 3 mouths drooling with fear-induced mucus. The Watcher turned its crystalline face toward the view screen. "You do nothing, you wait, and you pray that the humans do not decide to visit." On Earth, Admiral Reyes was already making that decision. "Can we do it again?" he asked, standing over Dr. Elena Vasquez's recovery tank. She had been pulled from the fluorocarbon, her frail body wrapped in thermal blankets, her eyes staring at something a million light-years away. "No," she whispered, her voice was a ruin. "Not yet, the quantum foam is agitated. It's like a pond after a stone. The ripples will take time to settle." "Time we don't have," Reyes pointed to the tactical display. The moon-based observatories had detected the tear in spacetime. Something was coming through, something that didn't obey the laws of physics as humanity understood them. "That thing will be in Earth orbit in 6 hours. The resonance array is our only weapon." Alina closed her eyes. When she opened them again, they were no longer quite human. The resonance had left its mark, a faint silver sheen across her irises, like mercury spilled on glass. "That thing isn't Vornak," she said. "It's older, much older, it feels like. The space between spaces, the noise under the music. Can you unmake it?" Alina thought of Sarah. Her daughter was in a bunker in Nebraska, watching cartoons on a tablet, oblivious to the fact that her mother had just become the most dangerous being in the galaxy. "I can try," she said, "but Admiral, if I do this again, I don't think I'll come back. The resonance is eating my neural pathways. Another cascade will burn me out." Ray's jaw tightened. He had given a lot of impossible orders in his career. He had sent young men and women to die on battlefields across the globe. But this, asking a mother to trade her existence for her species, this was beyond any order he had ever given. "I'll find another way," he said. "There is no other way." "Elena." "Admiral," she reached up and gripped his wrist. Her hand was cold, skeletal, but her grip was iron. "I made my choice 5 years ago. Don't take it away from me now." The bunker shook. The thing from the rift had fully emerged, a ship made of crystallized anguish, its hull etched with the faces of screaming victims from 1,000 extinct civilizations. It did not move through space so much as suggest that space should move around it. And it was heading straight for Elena. She felt its hunger, its need. The silence, for that was its name, whispered in the quantum foam fed on resonance wielders. It consumed them, added their consciousness to its screaming hull, grew stronger with every impossible weapon it devoured. "Interesting," a voice said in Alina's mind, not her own, the silence, a human, so small, so loud. "You will make a beautiful addition to my collection." "Get everyone out," Alina said quietly. "Clear the bunker, seal the tank, and Admiral, tell my daughter I love her. Tell her I didn't leave, tell her I became a star." Reyes saluted. It was the hardest salute of his life. As the blast doors closed behind him, Alina lowered herself back into the fluorocarbon tank. The resonance array began to hum. The silence ship grew larger on the monitors, its crystallized hull shimmering with stolen souls. Alina closed her eyes. She thought of Sarah's birthday picture, the stick figures, the yellow sun. "Mommy, when are you coming home?" "Never, baby," Alina whispered, "but I'll be everywhere." She activated the resonance cascade, and this time she aimed it at herself. The light of the quantum cascade lasted for 11 seconds. It was visible from every planet in the solar system, a second sun, born and dying in the same breath, its spectrum a scream of frequencies that had no name in any human language. When it faded, the silence ship was gone. So was Dr. Alina Vasquez. Admiral Reyes stood in the bunker's command center, watching the playback on a loop. The tank empty, the sensors clear, the quantum foam silent finally, like a pond after the stone had sunk. "She did it," whispered Lieutenant Park, the young officer who had asked about telling the public 3 hours ago. 3 hours that felt like 3 centuries. She actually did it. Reyes said nothing. He was staring at the one anomaly the sensors had recorded, a faint ripple in the fabric of reality spreading outward from the point of the cascade. Not a weapon, not a ship, something else, something that looked almost like a hand. A hand reaching out. To where, he wondered, to whom? The answer came 17 minutes later, when the secure line from Nebraska lit up. Sergeant Miller, the officer in charge of the bunker where Alina's daughter was being kept, sounded like he'd seen a ghost. "Admiral, sir, you need to see this." The video feed showed a small room with pink walls and stuffed animals and a child's drawing taped to the wall. And sitting on the bed, cross-legged, was 8-year-old Sarah Vasquez. She was smiling, but her eyes were silver, like mercury spilled on glass. "Mommy says hi," Sarah said, looking directly into the camera. "She says the resonance didn't kill her, it made her. More, she can feel everything now, every vibration, every heartbeat, every ship that ever tried to hurt us." Reyes' blood ran cold. "Sarah." "She says there's more of them coming. The silence had friends, older things, things that live in the dark between galaxies. They're waking up because they heard the noise." Sarah tilted her head, and for a moment, Reyes could have sworn he saw Alina's face superimposed over her daughter's. "But Mommy says not to worry. She says she's not alone anymore." What does that mean? Sarah's silver eyes glittered. Remember the Vornak ships, the 12,000? They're not dead, Admiral. Mommy caught them. She caught their minds when the resonance unmade their bodies, and now they're helping her. A billion screaming souls all singing the same song. The lights in the bunker flickered. On the main view screen, the deep space probe showed something impossible, a ring of light surrounding Earth, not a weapon, not a shield, a choir. She's building something, Sarah said, a new kind of resonance, one that doesn't unmake things, one that protects, but she needs time. She needs the galaxy to stop being afraid of us and start being afraid of what's coming. Reyes sank into his chair. He had hoped, prayed, that the destruction of the Vornak fleet would be the end of it, that humanity could retreat to its little corner of space and lick its wounds in peace. But the universe was not done with them. Far from it. Sarah, he said carefully, can you still talk to your mother? The girl nodded. She's always with me, she says. She says the Galactic Council is panicking. They're sending emissaries. They want to beg for mercy. What should we tell them? Sarah smiled. It was Alina's smile, warm, fierce, and utterly terrifying. Tell them, she said, that humanity doesn't want mercy. We want allies, and if they won't be allies, her silver eyes flashed, will settle for being the thing they're afraid of. The transmission ended. Reyes sat in silence for a long moment. Then he stood, straightened his uniform, and walked to the command podium. Lieutenant Park, he said, open a channel to the Galactic Council. It's time humanity had a voice. And what should I say, sir? Reyes looked at the ring of light on the view screen, Alina's choir of stolen souls, singing their silent protection over the Earth. Tell them, he said, that the weak have inherited the stars. 3 weeks after the resonance cascade, the galaxy learned a new word, fear. Not the fear of the Vornak Empire, brutal, predictable, easily bought off with tribute. Not the fear of the Earth silence, ancient, distant, more legend than reality. This was a new kind of fear, the fear of a sleeping giant that had just opened its eyes. Admiral Reyes stood on the bridge of the TCS Vengeance, humanity's first FTL-capable warship. Beside him, Sarah Vasquez, still 8 years old, still with silver eyes, sat in a chair that had been specially designed to interface with the ship's resonance drive. Stardust, Reyes said. Resonance drive online, reported the navigator. Quantum foam stable, destination, Vornak homeworld Qtal system, ETA, 4 hours. 4 hours to cross a distance that would have taken the Vornak themselves 3 weeks. Humanity had reverse-engineered the Ursilence's dimensional tier technology, using Alina's consciousness as a guide. The result was a drive that didn't move through space, it moved space around the ship. Sarah, Reyes said quietly, are you sure about this? The girl didn't look at him. Her silver eyes were fixed on the view screen, watching the stars blur into ribbons of light. Mommy says the Vornak are regrouping. They have a hidden shipyard in the Qtal asteroid belt. They're building a new fleet, smaller, faster, designed to avoid resonance detection. Can they avoid it? Sarah smiled. No, Mommy can feel everything now. Every vibration in the quantum foam, every heartbeat of every Vornak commander. They can't hide from her. They can't even think about hiding from her. Reyes suppressed a shudder. He had known Alina Vasquez before the tank, a brilliant physicist with a dry sense of humor and a fierce love for her daughter. The entity that now inhabited Sarah's mind was something else entirely, something that had merged with 12,000 dying consciousnesses and emerged as a collective intelligence that spanned half the galaxy. Humanity's angel, the media called her, the Silver Lady, the Resonance Mother. Our monster, Reyes thought, our beautiful, necessary monster. Entering Qtal system, the navigator announced, sensors show, gods above. The view screen cleared, the Vornak homeworld hung in the black, a gas giant the color of bruised flesh, surrounded by a ring of orbital habitats. And in the asteroid belt beyond, a shipyard the size of a small moon, swarming with half-constructed warships. 300 of them, maybe more. They learned fast, Reyes muttered. Those ships are built without resonance signatures. They're using quantum-dampened hulls. Our weapons won't. Mommy says that doesn't matter, Sarah interrupted. Resonance isn't the only way to unmake things, it's just the loudest. She closed her eyes. The ship's resonance drive began to hum, not the destructive pulse of the Nevada array, but something gentler. something almost musical. The Vornak shipyard shuddered. On the view screen, Reyes watched as the half-built ships began to unfold, not exploding, not dissolving, but opening like flowers, their hulls peeling back to reveal the terrified crews inside. "What is she doing?" Reyes whispered. "Showing them," Sarah said, "showing them what we could do, what we choose not to do." The Vornak crews floated in vacuum, exposed but alive. Their suits, standard issue, rated for hard vacuum, kept them breathing, kept them watching. A channel opened, not from the Vengeance, from the quantum foam itself. Elena's voice, layered with a billion harmonies, filled every speaker on every ship in the system. "Supreme Commander Vrax," she said, "you are not dead, do you know why?" Vrax, alive, floating in the wreckage of his flagship's bridge, tried to answer. His translator module sparked and died. "Let me tell you," Elena continued, "it is not because you surrendered. You did not. It is not because you begged for mercy. You did not. It is because my daughter asked me to show her what mercy looks like, so here it is." The Vornak crews began to drift toward the planet's surface, not falling, floating, guided by invisible currents of resonance. They would land safely. They would be recovered by their own people. "You called us weak," Elena said. "You called us prey. We have shown you our teeth. Now we are showing you our restraint. Do not mistake one for the other." The channel closed, the shipyard's remains, the exposed framework, the scattered components began to reassemble themselves, not into warships, into memorials, into a ring of twisted metal and crystallized light that circled the gas giant like a crown of thorns. "Message from the surface," the comms officer said, his voice shaking. "The Vornak Council, they're requesting terms of surrender." Reyes looked at Sarah. The girl's silver eyes were wet with tears she didn't seem to feel. "Tell them," Reyes said slowly, "that humanity doesn't accept surrender. We never wanted a war, we just wanted to be left alone." "And if they attack again?" Sarah answered, "Mommy says they won't, but if they do," she smiled. "She's been practicing, and she's getting very, very good." The Vengeance turned toward home. Behind it, the crown of thorns glittered, a warning and a promise, wrapped in a mother's love. 6 months later, the galaxy was quiet. Too quiet. Admiral Reyes had retired. The weight of commanding humanity's first interstellar war, if it could even be called a war, had aged him 20 years in the span of 20 weeks. He spent his days fishing on a lake in Montana, teaching his grandson to tie flies, trying not to flinch every time the sky flickered with silver light. Sarah Vasquez was no longer a little girl. Not in body she remained 8 years old, frozen, the doctors said, by the resonance field that linked her to her mother. She would never grow older, she would never grow up, she would never kiss a boy or graduate from college or have children of her own. But her mind was a cathedral of stars. She sat in a specially constructed chamber beneath the Nevada desert, the same chamber where her mother had first entered the tank. The tank itself was gone, replaced by a crystalline sphere that hummed with the voices of 1 billion captured souls, the Vornak crews, the Ursilence's victims, every consciousness that Elena had touched, every mind she had saved from oblivion. They were all there, and they were all her now. "Sarah," came her mother's voice, not from the sphere but from the air itself, from the vibration of every molecule in the room. "Something is wrong." Sarah opened her silver eyes. "I know, the silence." Not just silence, absence. The Watchers, the ancient crystal beings, they've gone dark, all of them, every Watcher in the galaxy at the same moment. Sarah felt it too, a hole in the quantum foam, a place where resonance did not exist, could not exist, where no vibration had ever occurred and no vibration ever would. "What is it, Mommy?" "A mouth," Elena whispered, "a mouth that eats sound, eats thought, eats existence, and it's waking up." The Galactic Council, what remained of it, sent an emergency transmission. The Watchers had not simply gone silent. They had been deleted, their crystalline matrices dissolved into nothing, their 3 million-year history erased as if it had never been. And in the space where their homeworld had orbited, there was now a void, not empty space, absence, a region of reality that had been unwritten. "The Ursilence's creators," Sarah said, "the ones Mommy warned us about, they're here." Not here, Elena's voice was strained, the first time Sarah had ever heard her mother sound afraid. Not yet, they're testing, poking. The Watchers were the galaxy's immune system and they've been consumed. Now the infection can spread. What do we do? A long pause, then I need to go to them, not you, me, my consciousness, the billion souls. We need to push back the absence before it reaches the inner systems. Mommy knows you'll. I'll be fine, baby. I'm already not really alive. I'm just a song, and songs don't die, they just stop playing. Another pause, but I need you to do something for me, something hard. Sarah nodded, tears streaming down her frozen cheeks. Anything. Build a new resonance array, a bigger one that can pull me back if this doesn't work, and when you build it, don't use a volunteer, use yourself. Sarah's breath caught. Mommy. You're already connected to me, baby, deeply, more deeply than anyone else could be. If anyone can bring me home, it's you, but you have to be willing to go to the edge, the absolute edge, further than I went. Sarah thought of her mother's empty tank, the videos of the first resonance cascade, when Alina had unmade 12,000 ships and become something more than human. The second cascade, when she had faced the silence alone and paid the price. You came back, Sarah whispered. You came back for me. I never left, but this time, I might not have a choice. The creators are not like the silence. They're not beings, they're anti-beings. They exist by not existing. Resonance can't touch them. Then how do we fight them? Alina was silent for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was soft, almost gentle. We don't fight them, baby, we surround them. We fill the absence with so much life, so much love, so much noise that they choke on it. Every human, every Vornak, every Zalanthic and Krill and Glorn, every being in the galaxy, singing the same song. Sarah looked at the crystalline sphere. The billion lights within it flickered, not in fear, but in hope. A choir, she said. A choir, Alina agreed. The biggest choir the universe has ever heard, and you, my beautiful girl, you're going to conduct. The resonance array began to hum, not the destructive pulse of war, something new, something that made the walls vibrate with music, made the air shimmer with color, made Sarah's silver heart beat in time with a billion others. Far away in the darkness beyond the last galaxy, the mouth opened wider. And the silence grew teeth. The concert began at dawn. Not Earth's dawn, the galaxy's dawn. The moment when the first stars ignited 13 billion years ago and the universe learned to sing. Every sensor, every resonance receiver, every quantum communicator in every civilization's possession broadcast the same signal. We are here, we are alive, and we are not afraid. Sarah Vasquez stood at the center of the new resonance array, a structure the size of a mountain, built in 6 impossible months by human and Vornak and Zalanthic engineers working side by side. Her silver eyes were closed, her hands were raised, and behind her a billion voices waited. Her mother's voice was the first. Sing, Elena whispered. And the galaxy sang. It was not a song of words, it was a song of being, every vibration, every heartbeat, every breath and cry and laugh and sob that had ever echoed through the void. The resonance array caught it all, amplified it, and hurled it at the darkness. The darkness answered. The rift opened above Earth, not a tear in spacetime, but a devouring, a hole in existence that grew from a pinprick to a chasm in seconds. Through it came the anti-beings, the creators of the silence, shapeless, formless, conceptless. They were the absence that preceded thought, the silence that swallowed sound. They did not attack, they unexisted. The first row of resonance dishes crumbled into quantum dust. The engineers operating them did not scream. They simply stopped being, their molecules erased from history. The Vornak workers aboard the orbital platform vanished mid-breath. The Zalanthic technicians flickered out like candles in a hurricane. Sarah Ray's voice crackled through the comms. The old admiral had come out of retirement, standing on the bunker's observation deck, watching the sky unravel. Pull back, you're losing. We're winning, Sarah said. She opened her eyes, they were no longer silver. They were everything, every color that existed and 1,000 that didn't. Her mother's consciousness, the billion captured souls, the resonance field itself, they had all merged into a single point of impossible light. The smallest spark, Alina had said, can start the largest fire. Sarah raised her hands higher. Behind her, the galaxy's choir sang louder, not just humans now. The Vornak survivors chanting an ancient war hymn. The the Zelanthic humming a frequency that mended broken bones, the krill clicking their mandibles in a rhythm older than stars, even the glorn, their crustacean voices scraping against reality like claws on glass. The darkness recoiled. Impossible, the anti-being screamed, not in words but in the absence of words. You are weak, you are small, you are meat. We are not meat, Sarah said, we are music, and you, she smiled, you are just a bad note. She pulled. Not a resonance cascade, a resonance flood. Every vibration that had ever existed in the Milky Way, from the birth of its first star to the death of its last living creature, poured through Sarah's outstretched hands and into the rift. The darkness tried to consume it, but you cannot consume infinity, you can only drown in it. The anti-beings dissolved, not unmade, but overmade, their absence filled with so much presence that they forgot how to exist. The rift shuddered, cracked, and collapsed into a pinprick of fatting light. And then, silence. But not the silence of absence, the silence of a held breath, the silence of a galaxy waiting to see if the miracle had worked. Sarah lowered her hands, the resonance array went dark, the billion voices fell quiet. And the stars began to come back. One by one, the lights that the anti-beings had devoured returned, not as they were, but as something new, brighter, warmer, each one vibrating with a unique frequency, like a fingerprint made of fire. Mommy, Sarah whispered. No answer. Mommy. The crystalline sphere beneath the Nevada desert was empty. The billion souls within it, the Vornak crews, the Ursilence's victims, the Watchers themselves, had been released, scattered across the galaxy like seeds in the wind. But one soul remained. A small one, a stubborn one. I'm here, Alina said, not from the sphere, from Sarah's own heart, from the resonance that now lived in every cell of her daughter's body. I'll always be here. I'm the spark, remember. Sarah fell to her knees. Tears poured down her face, real tears, not the silver shimmer of resonance. For the first time in 6 months, she felt like a little girl again. A little girl who had just saved the galaxy. Admiral, she said, her voice cracking, it's over. On the observation deck, Reyes wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. I know, kid, I know. What do we do now? He looked up at the sky, at the new stars, brighter than before, each one singing its own quiet song. He thought of Alina, floating in her tank, telling him that the smallest spark could start the largest fire. He thought of the Vornak fleet, gone in an instant, the Ursilence shattered by a mother's love, the anti-beings drowned in a billion voices. And he thought of the girl with silver eyes, who had conducted the greatest symphony the universe had ever heard. We live, he said, we laugh, we love, we make so much noise that nothing, nothing ever dares to be silent again. Sarah stood up, her silver eyes faded to brown, her mother's brown, warm and steady, but in their depths a spark remained. A spark that would never go out. In the darkness beyond the last galaxy, something ancient closed its eyes and whispered. They were supposed to be weak. And for the first time in eternity, the darkness was afraid. The end.